Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. You're tuned in to Women's AM. Today I'm joined by Nusrat, Saima and our special guest this morning is Emma Ahmed. Welcome to the show, Emma. Jazakallah khair for joining us this morning. Mashallah, you know, I understand you're a very, very busy lady. You've got lots going on. I understand you're working and you're studying. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you managed to get all this into your day, mashallah?
Well, I think it's down to organisation, planning, especially the night before, really does help. If you're organised the night before, the next day does tend to go run a bit smoothly. Not, you know, the things that you can't control, like traffic and things like that.
Exactly, yeah, traffic is the bane of my life. And I understand you're very creative as well, mashallah. You know, you like your sort of artwork and your baking. I'm a bit of a baker myself. Maybe we should have a bake-off one day. And mashallah, you even made our cupcakes for our series 1 in Women's AM for our Eid episode. So
right.
Jazakallah khair for those. They were super yummy, mashallah. And Jazakallah khair for joining us, sis. Without further ado, let's get straight on with her views, where today we're asking, are our hearts attached to Jannah? Our final destination is the life of the hereafter. Paradise is the aim and the hope of every Muslim. But like trying to attain any goal, in order to achieve success, one must have a well-defined plan, and it must be implemented in order to be successful. Today, the sisters are discussing Jannah and asking, are our hearts attached to it? As always, this is a live show, so please do join the comments and share your thoughts about Jannah. The number to call is on your screen now, or why not tweet us at Islam Channel, #WAM15. So, Sister Saima, I'm going to come to you first. You know, this is such a kind of beautiful topic, mashallah, and, you know, one that I'm sure we all love talking about. And I think we often ponder, you know, this kind of idea of Jannah in, you know, in our daily lives, and we kind of try to imagine what it's like. But, you know, how can we kind of really get this, you know, kind of get this attachment to it?
Okay, well, I think personally, nowadays I think it can be quite hard to yearn for Jannah and to be conscious of Jannah when life is comfortable. And a lot of us, alhamdulillah, do live quite comfortable lives. I think Jannah becomes more at the forefront of your mind when you're going through hardship, and I think that's a good thing, because that link with the akhirah and your hardship is what's going to help you get through that hardship. The Prophet ﷺ said that the affairs of a believer are remarkable, because when he's going through good times, he's happy. When he's going through bad times, he's happy. Now, why is it remarkable? Because it's that link, that bridge between the dunya and the akhirah that helps you get through the difficult times. So that's why the affairs of the believer are so remarkable. I think also being conscious of Jannah is very important, because it helps you actually avoid the haram and persevere to do greater actions in the sunnahs. So for example, if you're nice and cozy in your nice warm bed, yeah, and the Fajr alarm goes at like 4:30 in the morning, and your water takes a long time to heat up, and your house is freezing, yeah, you have to think at that point, well, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described in great detail how the rewards and the happiness and the comfort is everlasting in the Jannah. So will you spend an hour in your warm, cozy bed and compromise eternal comfort in the akhirah? So constantly making that comparison about the comforts you experience now, and knowing that any comfort that you experience now is going to have a cut-off point. Whereas in the akhirah, it's not. Lowering your gaze, yeah, or not committing zina, or not pursuing something else that is haram. Knowing that actually this momentary satisfaction of this desire, or this momentary happiness, is momentary, it doesn't last forever, but in akhirah you'll get it forever. There's no interruptions, there's no pauses.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely true, but you know, sometimes we can go for kind of long periods of time with that sort of pondering Jannah and reminding ourselves about it, and I think that's a way that we kind of distance ourselves from it and lose that attachment. So how often should we be, you know, thinking about this?
Well, I know for me that as soon as I wake up and I'm feeling tired, it's that direct link. Oh, I've got this long day ahead of me, I don't know how I'm going to get through it, and there's lots to be done. But for me, I think that is the direct link. As soon as I think of that, I think exactly what you said, Saima. I think, I'm tired, but in Jannah, there is no tiredness. There is nothing. I'm going to have all the energy in the world.
Actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually does say in Surah Qaf, verse 35, He says, the life of the world, compared to the life of the akhirah, is a fleeting enjoyment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already said that this is something you need to be aware of, that everything you're going through now is just temporary.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's absolutely true. You know, for me, though, sometimes I do fall into the trap of, instead of reminding myself of Jannah, I'm kind of thinking, OK, I've got, you know, I don't know, like 3 more kind of early starts and then I can have a lay-in, or I've got, you know, another week at work and then I'm off on holiday. So, and sometimes that kind of distances me from that kind of reminder of, you know, of Jannah. Can you kind of give me any tips to kind of get over that?
I think it's also knowing your purpose of life is something that actually we need to be aware of, because sometimes when we think of our purpose of life, that only then can we actually realise that actually we do want Jannah, because we see the limitations of this world.
Yeah.
Because even if we have something that we may deem as perfect, we'll find some kind of default in it. So having an awareness of your purpose of life and also reflecting on the creation of Allah. So even something like a flower, we all love flowers, don't we? How it can sometimes be so pretty when we buy it and then it starts to wilt, which actually shows that the life of this world is actually very fleeting.
Yeah.
Everything will cease to exist. And there's one book actually I will recommend that's very useful to read, is The Truth of the Life in This World by Harun Yahya.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
That book kind of puts into perspective life as it truly is, and how everything does cease to exist.
And I like the analogy you used there of the flower and how it wilts, and this kind of you know, demonstrates the sort of transient nature, the short-lived nature of the beauty of this world. But you know, sometimes we kind of see a lot, particularly in like holiday brochures or travel programs, you know, where they're talking about, you know, this particular destination, it's like heaven on earth, this place is like paradise. You know, you've had these kind of you know, comparisons. So, you know, what's your sort of take on that? Can we compare anything on this earth to paradise?
I think when we look at whether we can have that concept of heaven on earth or have any comparisons, I don't really believe it's possible. No, it's not, because the concept of heaven on earth is actually something that's greater than what we as individuals can conceive. We find that Allah has not actually given us that ability to conceive what Jannah would be like. So we can't really attach our hearts to something that is beyond our conception. And even if we did, it would differ in interpretation, because what could be somebody else's idea of paradise could be another person's idea of something that isn't that. So we all have different perceptions. So what can we agree would be one universal idea of what paradise is like? So that's one thing. Another thing is that it does become very problematic. When we do have this idea of heaven on earth, we find that it creates a sort of distance between us and Allah, because it causes us to have this false sense of belief that we are independent of Allah. And because of this, we now find accountability, particularly in our society, waning. We start to indulge in a very hedonistic lifestyle of, oh, I can get this, I can do this, and we see the problems within society that happen as a result of that. But something within Islam, we're actually told that the dunya is an illusionary element. It's actually something that distracts us from the hereafter, and this is also mentioned actually within the hadith narrated by Anas ibn Malik. Allah's apostle said, if son of Adam had a valley full of gold, he would like to have had 2 valleys, for nothing fills his mouth except dust, and Allah forgives him who repents to him. And that's narrated in Bukhari. Now, from this hadith, we find that this idea of heaven on earth is not even sustainable, even by our own standards, because we have this ability to not be satisfied. You see? It's
true, isn't it? And you see this, you know, a lot with people that have kind of lots of money, or, you know, there is that thing of...
Still not happy, are they?
Exactly, it's always going to extremes, you know, you always want more.
But for the person that has a contented heart, it's as if they have everything, and that's even Imam Shafi'i talked about this as well. So this concept of heaven on earth is actually something detrimental to our understanding as Muslims of our purpose in life, and even detrimental to seeking the hereafter in Jannah.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, we do have Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has given us you know, many descriptions of Jannah and what we can expect and what we can expect to see there. Simon, can you give us a kind of a brief outline of some of those?
Like there's one example narrated by Anas ibn Malik in Sahih Muslim, says that in the garden there is a marketplace in which you will come every Friday, and the north wind will blow and scatter fragrance on them, on the person and on their clothes, and they will return back to their family and they will look more beautiful, and their families will comment on how beautiful they are. The only thing I want to say about the descriptions that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has given in the Quran about Jannah is that honestly, sometimes they can be confusing, sometimes it can be hard to interpret, and sometimes they could even be unappealing depending on where you are in the world. I'll give you an example. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala talks a lot about figs and dates.
Yeah.
I'm a fake person from time to time, but I can see why.
Okay, my sister-in-law can't stand dates, but okay. But yeah, some of them, we have to understand that all these ayahs were being related down to Arabs. Yeah, and at that time, figs, dates, camels, horses, these type of things, yeah, were very, very important to them. Water, flowing rivers of honey and water and things like this. These are things that the Arabs could really relate to and they really valued. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't lose hope, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does say that for the rest of us who don't quite, you know, get a buzz out of those things, yeah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does say in Surah Fussilat, verse 31, that you will have everything that you wish for in yourselves, and you will have everything that you demand. Yeah, and in other verses of the Quran as well, Surah Anbiya, verse 102, similar things are narrated over and over again, that fundamentally in Jannah is where all hearts will find contentment.
I think this is the thing, isn't it? You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows us better than we know ourselves. Yes. So whatever our hearts desire, this is, you know, what we're, you know, inshallah going to receive in paradise. Yeah. So, you know, what a lovely reminder there. We have a caller on the line, sisters. We have Vij from Wimbledon. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Walaikum salam.
I understand you have a comment or a question for the panel this morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about the connection to Jannah, and I just wanted to also say that I've just newly converted.
Oh, mashallah, alhamdulillah. Welcome to the deen, mashallah.
And thank you, Jazakallah. And I just want to say that I always feel that our intentions should be good within our heart, and that we should be fearful of what we do, and that also gives us a big connection to Allah. Yeah, inshallah. Absolutely. And that I always feel that it's Allah's will to whatever path we go to as well. And yeah, that's what I wanted to kind of say.
Absolutely true. Jazakallah here for your call. And once again, you know, welcome to the deen. It's, you know, it's always so nice to hear, you know, to kind of speak to new Muslims. And that enthusiasm of a new Muslim, I think, is something that we all would like to kind of tap into. And, you know, the sister was reminding us, you know, of the good in Allah's plan, and how we have to kind of trust in, you know, in Allah's plan for us, inshallah. Sister Saima, what's your comments on this?
I mean, again, going back to the topic of Jannah and how important it is to keep that link. And like the sister said, it's really important to keep it in the heart and keep it in your intention that you're doing something for Jannah. I think that's a really, really good point. I think the whole topic itself today is so relevant because, look, we're living in a time where looks are really important. Everyone around you is trying to stave off any signs of the inevitable, which is death. Everyone's going to more and more extremes of trying to look younger, retain their status and retain their beauty and retain their youth.
Even we find the rise of liberalism, people having that lack of accountability and saying, oh, I'm not going to be held accountable for this. And we see this with the daily statistics we find of girls being violated, or girls having to go through these kind of mental illnesses in a bid to achieve a standard of beauty that's not even realistic.
Absolutely. And I think that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Like you said, Liz, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what we all yearn for. We don't like death. No human likes death. We were made in Jannah, and we're designed for that environment, not the dunya. Okay, this life is just a test for us. We all want to look youthful. We all want to look beautiful. We want to have good spouses, good-looking spouses. We all want to have clothes and status and things like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Jannah to satisfy all of those things, but on an eternal timescale, so this is really important. And other things like nobody wants to be around backbiting. No one wants to be around a situation where you're at risk of being slandered. No one wants to be around foul language. So all of this is contained within Jannah. You cannot find that in the dunya. People are like doing cosmetic surgery and this, and all of that is limited. You have to rot with that plastic in you in the grave at the end of the day. I know it sounds a bit bad, but
all these things, you know, subhanAllah, as you said, it's a test for us, and you know, inshallah, we have the tools within Islam to deal with these tests and inshallah be successful. So Jazakallah for that reminder there. It's always such an Iman boost to talk about Jannah, and the sisters have reminded us of some beautiful descriptions and references. Unfortunately, we do have to take a quick break now, but stay where you are, as we'll be coming back to this discussion in a few minutes, inshallah. Just before that, a quick reminder of this week's competition.
This week on